Ladies and gentlemen, the time has come for us to return to the Dragon Quest series, or Dragon Warrior, depending on which region you're from. And the time has come for Dragon Warrior 3, which, in my experience, is about 90% of people's favorites, for good reason, which I'll get into as we go in. But let's get right on into this, shall we? I should be pressing the start button and go to the main menu right around now. Alright, to start off, let's begin a new quest. Hey, Adventure Log 2, and let's name ourselves. Like in Dragon Warrior 2, I'm going with a reference name. This time we are Dart. Points if you know the reference. And go along with that name, our main character is, in fact, a male. And you get to choose your message speed. 2 or 3 is probably the best one. By the way, the cutscene in this version is much better than the SNES version. Either way, it's Dart's 16th birthday. Wake up, dear. Wake up, Dart. Wake up, Dart. It's morning. Today's a very important day. This is the first time that you, Dart, shall go to the castle. I have raised you as a brave young lad for this very day. And this purple lady here is our mother. And as tradition, we are very blue and white. So come with your mother. And welcome to town. We'll be exploring this place momentarily, I'd say. If you go straight, you'll come to the castle. Remember your manners in front of the king? Alright, be on your way now. And now we finally get to move ourselves into the castle. I like how they actually technically made them one area in this game. And welcome to the castle of Aliahan, which is the first town. So let's head up the stairs and talk to the king. Now, the people in the king's throne chamber here actually give you some good tutorial tips. On specific, this person talks about something. The castle gates are closed at night and you can only have an audience with the king during the day. Dragon Warrior 3 actually has a day-night cycle, which we'll get to see a bit later on. And in a fight, the farther you stand back from the enemy, the less damage you incur. I'll get into that in a moment. Welcome unto thee, Dart, son of the brave Ortega. It said that thy father Ortega met his end when he fell into a volcano's crater at the end of a battle. We do hereby accept your petition to follow in your father's in the footsteps of your brave father, but not into a volcano. That'd just be stupid. Thy enemy shall be the archfiend Baramos. Okay. The name of the archfiend Baramos is yet unknown in the world of men. If things remain unchanged, before long the world will be destroyed by the archfiend. Baramos must be defeated. Seek companions at the local eatery and start your quest. Dart receives money for his party. Farewell, until we meet once more, Dart. And he gives you a fairly low amount of gold. I think it's 50. Well, let's follow his advice to go to the place to recruit people, because, like Dragon Warrior 2, you actually do have a party system, but you actually have to recruit your party members in this game, so you have to get to build a bit of a custom party. But let's talk to the people here in the lower left first. They say that the key made by the thief Bakor can easily open all doors with locks. Okay. Oh, get over here. The thief Bakor, who once wreaked havoc in this town, is now in jail. So let's go check him out. Because, of course, all castles have their brigs in a place where they can easily be accessed by the king. And thus, they can easily access the king. Meaning, the king is an easy target. I'll never understand that in RPGs. You should have the jail in a faraway place, but still well guarded. And here he is, actually. Blast it, that blasted old man in the Tower of Najima. He stole a key from me, Bakor, so his key is now locked in the Tower of Najima. We probably want to find that. Either way, now we're cutting back outside because we want to, well, do things here in town. The inn is there, but honestly, it's pretty worthless because you can actually talk to your mother back in your home at any point and it's a free inn. Welcome to the eatery. This is where you recruit and make party members. And thus, you have to talk to this person to do it, actually. And I think before registering anyone, you actually have to save your game. And we do have new companions to register. We want to, first off, besides our hero, we want to make a soldier class character. Let's see, let's name him Leglius. Soldier classes, by the way, it's a male soldier, are pretty much the tanks. They deal mass damage and take mass damage. They equip almost all the best equipment throughout the game, have high strength and vitality, so they're pretty much overall tanks. They only have two disadvantages. They're incredibly slow at being the slowest class, and cannot learn any magic. We want to register another person. This time, we want to register a Pilgrim. Pilgrims are decent fighters. They have high HP and strength, about 50 to 75% of what an equivalently level soldier would do. They can equip some high-level armor and weapons, though they do fall a bit behind in late game. They have mostly offensive... they have some offensive spells, but for the most part, they're either attacking or they're your healers. In fact, that's what they are. They're pretty much white mages. And finally, we want to make a fighter. Fighters have a lot in common with soldiers. They're strong, have high HP and vitality, but cannot use magic. The main difference is that, unlike the soldiers, fighters have high speed, but cannot equip much in the way of armor. They'll take more damage than soldiers, but since they always attack first, the enemies might not live to deal damage at all. Fighters are a lot more offensive, whereas soldiers are a lot more defensive overall. And then we have to go downstairs and put them into our party. There are some custom-made characters, but they're not too good. There are some set other classes that you can use. The wizards are pretty much your black mages, powerful offensive spells, and have enough MP to cast them multiple times. But they're the weak link when it comes to defense and physical combat. Since they can't equip much armor as well, they usually will die first. And then you got the merchant and the dealer, which are very useful early on in the game, actually. Their HP, strength, and vitality fall behind that of a soldier, fighter, and the main character fairly quickly. They can help you find extra golden items from enemies, but they're not too useful. They do have some special sets of spells for their early game classes, but it's not too useful. Then you got the Goof Off. The Goof Off is pretty useless. It has the highest luck of all classes, meaning it can get drops pretty easily, but it can fail a lot of commands, and it's just not useful. There's only one benefit to it, which we'll see later on. There's actually another class, Thief, that they added to the remake on the Super Nintendo, but since I'm not playing it, I will not describe them. Also, I was trying to show off there, but if you go to your mother at any point and talk to her, she's a free in. Now, before we do anything in the field, I actually want to buy some antidote herbs. I'm going to give them to Lowell and Tifa, which, yeah, by the way, I named that my characters Lowell and Tifa because a lot of my characters here are actually reference names. In fact, they all are. Dart's a reference to a game. Legolas is a reference to a game. If you really get that game, I love you, because that means you played one of my favorite PS2 games. Tifa's pretty obvious. Lowell is a fairly obscure one. But before we exit the town, I actually want to change my formation. Formation, like Final Fantasy 1, matters when it comes to how much you get hit. In first place, whoever's in the first position gets hit about 45% of the time, so put a tank up there like I'm going to put my soldier there. Second and third place in formation get hit about 40% of the time, so hero and a fighter are good for that. And whoever's in the last position gets hit around, I think, 1% of the time, not very often at all, so it's good to have, like, a mage-type character in that position. And since, at this point especially, the soldier has a higher attack stat than the hero, trade their weapons that they start off with, because it's pretty good to do that. Also, there's a way you can actually ditch party members permanently in the, at the eatery. And if you do, a thing you could do is actually strip them of their equipment, sell it, and then ditch the party member and recruit a new soldier. And doing so can actually get you a lot of gold early game, but it's not really worth it because it can cause some glitches. Either way, with me doing that, it's time to partake in the Dragon Quest tradition, level grinding. I get everyone up to level 5. It's not actually very necessary here because the game's very well balanced. It took me about 20 to 35 minutes. I'm just doing it just so I can be absolutely safe. Now, in terms of the main character slot class, the hero, they're pretty good. They're very versatile. They can equip most of the weapons and armor that soldiers can, and a few that they cannot. And they can learn a mix of pilgrim and wizard spells, often much later than those classes, but it's still pretty useful. And the time has come for the first random battle. Slimes and a Black Raven. Slimes have 8 HP, give 6 experience points and 3 gold, and can drop a medical herb. And black ravens have 9 HP, give 7 XP and 3 gold, and can also drop medical herbs. Medical herbs, by the way, heal around 30 HP when used as an item. Now the thing is, enemies, first off, in terms of what they have, their HP is actually a range between 75% to 100% of the value I just listed. XP is divided evenly among the party members, rounded down. And drops are sometimes dropped by the enemies, not always. And welcome to the town of Reeve, by the way. Only one battle, but I'm getting up here, which I'm surprised by. And this guy hears that there's a cave in the forest south of this village to reach the Tower of Najima, which is obviously one of our first goals. There's some good stuff in this town you can buy. The turbine's useful, but I don't recommend it. And in the weapon shop, there's actually a chain sickle, I believe it is, which is one of the best weapons at this point in the game, but it's not worth the price. You can do fine at this point with your starting equipment. Leather helmets can be useful, though, but I'm not going to buy anything. Churches here are fairly good. Like the previous games, they can revive characters or detoxicate them, pretty much reviving them from KO or getting rid of poison status. The uncurse, I always forget what that does. I think it allows you to remove cursed equipment. Anyway, let's talk to this guy. Heave-ho! No way, it's too heavy, won't budge. Weakling! You can actually interact with the environments in this game as opposed to previous ones. Which I like. And we want to head south towards the thing. If you just notice the color changed slightly, that's because the day cycle slightly changed. Now here I actually want to mention a bit of a glitch with the combat system. It only exists in the NES version, and there's a similar glitch to this in Final Fantasy II. The parry command is pretty much your defense command, as you might already know. However, if you parry, go to the next person's turn, press B, and then attack. You'll attack while still having the parry status on, so you'll actually take half damage from everything. Anyway, giant anteaters have 13 HP, give 11 XP and 4 gold. Can drop a leather helmet, which is very useful. That increases your defense by a decent amount. But overall, not too complicated enemies. In fact, they're very vanilla. Anyway, the cave beneath Najima, as I've always called this place, is fairly simple. But first it throws us into a battle with horned rabbits. Horned rabbits have 10 HP, give 10 XP and 3 gold, and can drop a medical herb. They're very easy enemies. As you can see, they're going down pretty quickly. Anyway, one thing you should watch out for in cave-like areas or buildings or any place where there's a transition screen. By the way, here we get a medical herb. That's pretty useful. If you're at a point where you do a transition like that, where the next screen lights up and the previous one darkens, you have a very high chance of running into a random encounter there, because you're taking a blind step around the corner. I think that's something that's carried over from Dragon Warrior 2, but it's been a while since I've played that, since the Let's Play, actually. Anyway, with the Wayfarer's clothes, if you have a mage, I recommend giving that to them, but I don't need it. I'm going to sell it next time I can. Anyway, got some gold there, and by walking up here, we're in the Tower of Najima's basement. And we're immediately thrown into a battle with the Frogor. Frogor have 15 HP, give 15 XP, drop 4 gold, and can drop a medical herb. Not very hard enemies, especially at this point. In fact, a lot of the enemies are very generic. Though one thing I do like about this game is that you might recall back in Dragon Warrior 2, there was no auto-targeting like all the people were targeting one creature, and the creature got killed before the rest of the party could take their turn. They'd just miss. In this game, it works a bit differently. There's auto-targeting within groups of enemies, because you can only target groups of enemies, not individuals. So say if there's 3 slimes, and everyone gets to kill their own, but the fourth person doesn't get to attack their slime, or a slime, rather. By the way, in the Tower of Najima. The 4th person will just miss entirely. They won't move on to another group of enemies. Which is understandable. Anyway, the Tower of Najima is actually a very straightforward area. I'm going to be taking you through pretty much everything you need to get in here pretty easily. South is the way you want to go if you want to progress, but we want to head west first. And west again. And you find yourself in this room, which has a treasure chest in it. Like in previous games, everything is menu-based, so you have to search your feet to open treasure chests. In the Game Boy Color version of this game, this game got its own Game Boy Color version, unlike Dragon Quest 1 and 2. In fact, both the Game Boy Color ports of the Dragon Warrior games, Dragon Warriors 1 and 2 and Dragon Warrior 3, are ports of the Japanese Super Nintendo versions. Which, well, first off, you got a leather helmet. Give that to your soldier if you have one, because it's pretty good for his defense, and since he's in the front and is going to get hit the most, it's useful for him to have. If you're playing along, I recommend you actually go play the Super Nintendo version of this over all the others, because it's really good. The added class is nice and such, but overall it's just a much superior game. Oh, that's right, this game actually has a subtitle. I forget what it is. It's like Seeds of something. I'm going to look that up, actually. Seeds of Salvation. I think this is technically the first Dragon Quest to have that, but I guess I'll find out in research afterwards. Mind you, this Dragon Quest game also has the most ports, I believe. I'll get back to you on that. By the way, on this floor, there's some complicated stuff we want to do. First off, we want to head to the third path and head south there because there's some stuff we can get over there. Also, there's no transitions I'm using in this series for the most part. I'm just editing out battles and their transitions as much as I can. Anyway, next new enemy, or somewhat of a new enemy, is a Babel, returning from Dragon Quest 2. 10 HP, can give 16 HP and drops 8 gold, can drop an antidotal herb. However, these guys are annoying because they often attack in groups and can poison you. Poison sucks, you just lose HP slowly over time, but when you have low HP like we do, that's pretty bad. These guys are why I brought antidotal herbs. So, kill them as fast as you can. Now, when I was level grinding, there's something I should have told you about this. When you learn spells for characters that can learn spells, like the Pilgrim or the Hero, they don't learn them at a set level, like they did in Dragon Quest 2, I believe it was. Instead, they're learned within a range of levels. Like, you can first learn a certain spell at level 2, but you're guaranteed to learn it by level 4. That kind of thing. It's annoying, but it's there. Anyway, next new enemy is Masked Moths. They have 12 HP, give 8 experience, drop 5 gold, can drop a Wing of the Wyvern, which allows you to teleport to previous areas that you've been to. And they can cast Surround, which... like the previous games, I believe increases hit dodging chances. I'd have to look that up again. First off, I should mention, Surround is also localized as Dazzle. Reduces people's accuracy to 3/8. So yeah, they just reduced our accuracy a bit. It's nothing too bad. It can be deadly if you have a lot of mage-type characters, but if you have at least one tank, you're pretty good. So you've come, Dart. I've dreamed I gave you this key. So I gave you the Thief's Key. Do you accept it? No! Even in my dreams, things don't come true. Aw, poor guy. But yeah, we want to get the key, because this is the old man who took Bakor's key. And with the Thief's Key, we can now open thieves' doors like these ones. However, there's also a secondary sprite of them that we saw back in the castle. Let's use the Thieves' Key, which, by the way, in between parts, I'm going to be moving up to the top of my inventory because it just makes things easier for convenience sake. And we fall off the tower because we can still do that. And let's meet down back here. Now, there's 2 other paths you can go from here. North and east. I want to head east first because I can do some stuff in this direction. But you can honestly exit from any direction because you're not really... You're pretty much done in this area. But hey, this music sounds familiar. And that's for a reason, because if we use the Thieves' Key, we see that we are in the jail back in the castle. Maybe that's how he got caught. He was sneaking into the castle through the Tower of Najima, and they realized that he's coming through the jail of all things, so they kind of locked him in there. Now, if you talk to people around here, you'll learn that there's this thing called a travel door, which used to allow people to travel between, like, continents and such. And I'm telling you this now because there are some rooms you can get into in this place now using the Thieves' Key as well. Where people can break open, where you can learn that you can break open the seal to the travel door using a magic ball because it's been sealed up. So let's figure out everything we can about this thing. I forget, what was the Dragon Quest that introduced the context-sensitive button? I don't think it was 4, I think it may have been 5. They say there's an old man who makes magic balls in the village of Reeve, so we're learning more about what we have to do. And I'm going to try and talk to a lot more people than I have previously, so I can talk to people that allow us to know where we have to go in the storyline. Because I know I didn't do that much in Dragon Quest 1 and barely at all in 2. Then again, I didn't care much about 2, so I didn't want to put the effort in. This game I like. Anyway, use the Thieves' Key here. Let's see what this guy has to say. Magic ball can break down walls, they say, so that's probably how it breaks down the seal. And finally, let's see what this lady up here has to say. Long ago, the travel door used to be in the easternmost part of Aliahan, so now we have a general location of it. And now I'm coming back here because I want to head north. I could have just skipped going up here in general, but there is a couple treasure chests actually I want to get. Including me forgetting to cut out the transition part of the battle transition. Oh well. Gold is fairly uncommon early game, but by the end of the game you're honestly going to have a lot more than you probably should. Though I actually have no idea how long this is going to be compared to my Dragon Quest 1 and 2 LPs, because Dragon Quest 3 is a much longer game overall. Again, for NES standards, especially in 1987 when this was released in Japan, this game was huge. In fact, I recall for a fact that this was, in Japan, the first Dragon Quest game to use a save file. Because in Dragon Quest 1 and 2 in Japan, unlike us who had save files for them, they had passwords, which had to suck. Yeah, this place looks weird. It's like a forest of some sort. And as we exit, we are just south of Reeve. So that's the forest they were talking about there. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 2, we'll be continuing on seeing what we can do here in Reeve. See you guys then.